Hello, everyone. I'm Joe Welu. Thanks so much for tuning in to Expert Insights, where we talk with industry leaders across modern financial services to discuss leadership and innovation. Let's get started. Gentlemen, welcome to the podcast. Really good to have you guys in Minneapolis. Mm-hmm. And Soumojit and Ashim with Cogneesol. So welcome. Maybe just give us a little brief introduction of you guys and your firm Cogneesol and what you guys are the best in the world at.
Sure, I'll take that. So we are a 16-year-old organization purely into business process management, operations, and technology services. We operate out of India. We're headquartered in New York. And I am basically the chief operating officer for Cogneesol, and I head the entire operations.
Yeah, I'm Soumojit, and I kind of handle most of the technology bits, a bit of data analytics, the AI bit, and any kind of visualization or software development.
So you guys are working with Total Expert on behalf of some of our insurance customers on some back-end system integration work. And incredibly important component of any technology transformation that you want to do is having the connectivity of those back-end systems, specifically as it relates to anything that you want to be able to do with that data. If you can't access it, get it in the right format, it's worthless.
That's right.
Give us your point of view on your approach and experience on this side of the technology world.
Sure. So, again, the AI, analytics, data analytics, automation, these are all buzzwords that we've been seeing around for the last 5-6 years. Everyone wants it. But what do they want to achieve out of it? Nobody has that answer. If you can answer that question, that makes it more easy. How do you leverage all that data together? There are siloed systems. There are multiple systems coming across. How do you get them in one view of truth? Or that's exactly what we call it, correct? In terms of there's one view where we know who exactly or what exactly I'm trying to resolve. If you can answer that question, then that becomes easy from that perspective. And again, that's exactly what we're doing when we're working with Total Expert to get that one view together and then, take it from there.
And I think as a company evolves, systems are added, some systems are taken away, but the data is valuable. So it has to be some kind of concept where you kind of pull in all that stuff, but nothing on the business side gets disrupted. So I feel that's where we bring in that expertise of connecting different systems and making sure that you have a unified view of what you want to do and how you want to power your business.
So my particular experience, I get the opportunity to talk with a lot of C-level executives who find themselves very frustrated with huge projects, that AI projects, data projects that failed to deliver a better customer experience or better automation or better an optimized workflow for their organization. They've invested millions of dollars in many cases. Boil that down for us. A, do you still see that as a fairly common thing when you start working with organizations that they've had failed projects? And two, maybe help us understand why so many companies fail to realize investments in technology as it relates to the back-end system work that has to happen.
Absolutely. So I think one of the reasons that we've seen is the fact that these are all buzzwords now. Everyone wants to do it. Yeah. Everyone wants to do it. I mean, they just don't want to miss out on the race. But the fact they don't realize is the fact that if your data is not in one place, it's not organized, it's never going to work. When you talk about AI, you talk about LLM models, or you talk about automation. If you have unorganized data, if you have unstructured data, it's never going to work. The basic rudimentary tasks, simple, data entry kind of tasks and everything, they've all been automated. There's nothing AI that was not required. That's basic automation that's been done. But when you get down to complex situations where you are dealing with multiple systems, data coming out from multiple systems in multiple formats, you need to organize. If you are not organizing, nothing's going to work. If your data is not right, your AI, your ML, nothing's going to work. I mean, I'll again let Soumojit do most of the talking there, but the fact that that's exactly what we've seen where,
he told me he's the one that's the real brains behind the operation.
Absolutely.
And you're kind of the show pony.
Yeah,
is that
absolutely.
right? Okay.
Absolutely.
I'm happy to
I
take that
survive.
compliment.
My check comes from him. So yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, so I feel the data is surely one part of the puzzle. The other part is like every business has their own unique, specialized context of doing things. You cannot just use a generalized model to do everything that you want to do. So I would say that some businesses need to be very clear on what they want to do and why they want to do it. Because the moment that's very clear, everything kind of falls back into place. Like, should we take the AI route? Should we just do a simple old automation that is rule based and can work? It just falls into the place.
Do you think a lot of organizations, and specifically you guys have a very large practice in the insurance space, and so we'll speak on specifically as it relates to the insurance organizations that you work with and we work with. Do you think that they all underestimate the difficulty of not only integrating back-end system data, but the transformation that has to happen so that it can be useful? Is that where they go wrong?
Sometimes, yes, because what happens is most of the times, it's a big pipeline and not everyone has the full view of the entire, thing. So probably they get from one point to the other point, and then there's a constant battle of how do we take this across the other side. So it's better to have some mental model where you know where you're starting from, where you want to get to. And if that is very clear, I feel that, things become much easier.
So is what you're telling me that it's common where they start out, the executive teams, when they're doing big projects, are starting out not necessarily clearly understanding what they're trying to accomplish? Is that part of the challenge?
Not really. I would not say that they don't know what they want to accomplish. It's like, getting a fully confident view of what they want to do it and how they want to do it. Sometimes it's all about, finding solutions and then just finding a problem that it can solve. It should be the other way around. We should be honest about what those problems are and then probably look at a solution that kind of, just does it seamlessly.
So a lot of the executives that I talk with generally ground on the fact that technology and the evolution of AI and automation, the primary value is that you can start optimizing everything. We think of the customer journey as this really amazing opportunity to create a lot of value, right? But it's also an opportunity, if you think about AI and you think about the data that you have access, the insights, it's also a way to supercharge your people and the humans. Talk to me about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think it's the fact that let's talk about agencies, correct? So I know, and specifically to your example where we're doing some work with Total Expert on Applied Epic, is the fact that, it can be a complicated system. It can be a complicated system, but you don't want your agents to be spending time on, entering data and managing all those things. They'd rather be better talking to customers and, managing their problems at that point of time rather than taking care of these admin tasks. And that's where things around automation, AI, and everything can help to you basically augment your staff today, the agency staff or the broker staff. They're actually speaking to their customers and not spending time on, I won't call it wasting time, but spending time on doing the regular transactional stuff. They would rather better off talking to the customers and sorting out their issues. And that's the approach that we take.
So it's not just pure cost savings.
Exactly. It's not. It's
a lot of the transformation projects that we've seen is, what can I automate to get rid of cost, right? Which that's of course still important. But what you're really describing, the real force multiplier, is ultimately, can the technology, can the data, can the insights actually be a force multiplier for how impactful the people serving the customers can be? Is that?
Yes, exactly. And to a certain extent, maybe initially you'll look at cost savings. You'll say, what, I've automated this process today. But have you looked at the fact that how is it impacting your customer experience? When we talk about PNC policies, they are generally there for 1 year, correct? You have a renewal cycle. Now, how does that impact your retention rate? I bought a car insurance or a homeowner's insurance today, and you've automated stuff, but I'm not happy from that perspective that I don't get to speak to humans or anything like that. Everything's happening in a way, and maybe that's not something that I want. And when it comes down to renewal, I'll go to somebody else. Maybe that's the way it could be. So again, it all depends in terms of what exactly or how exactly it impacts your customer experience. That's the way it has to be in terms of.
I mean, the underlying motivation for most of the customers you guys work with, and you've got a great reputation, by the way, as an amazing tech partner. And I don't say that lightly. The value that you guys bring is so well talked about, and it's very impressive. But I think the motivation for most of the work you're doing is they ultimately want to grow the business, right? They want to grow the business, future-proof the business.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, you look at certain terminologies like customer acquisition cost and everything. What we have realized over a period of time, it's more difficult to retain a customer rather than acquiring a new one. You can acquire
100%.
you can acquire in terms of being competitive in the market. You can give them quotes which are cheaper than the other ones and everything. But how do you retain your customers? Because
That's where the real money is.
Exactly,
Real money,
because that's where you are. That's predictable for me in terms of saying that, if I have a retention rate about 70, 80%, I'm doing a good job, especially on the personal lines and everything. I'm doing a very good job there. That's what it is.
And I think what's interesting to me is whether you're talking about optimizing back-end processes or you're talking about optimizing the customer experience, which I believe the biggest reason you want to optimize your customer experience or optimize your customer journey is so that you can drive up that lifetime value of that customer relationship. If I can retain a customer for every need they have for the next 10, 20 years,
Absolutely.
it's a major growth engine.
Absolutely. I mean, the product portfolio in itself in the insurance industry is evolving today, correct? You've got these umbrella insurance, which is called small mid business. If I am a small business owner, I'll take one policy which covers my auto, which covers my home, and as well as covers my contents, insurance, everything, correct? So the ability to cross-sell and everything, that becomes easy. If I am delivering the right customer experience, if I am delivering the right service to the customers, half the battle is won there.
And the moral of the story is the only way you're going to be able to do any of it
Yes.
is if you have the data.
Absolutely.
Correctly in the right place.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah. Once you get to see what it is, then your ability to cross-sell or your ability to actually say that, predict the fact that whether this customer is going to stick with me or not, or make that effort. So the fact that if I am seeing certain ways in terms of, let's say, the customer called me or the interactions, and I can gauge from a perspective that text analytics, just as an example, correct? I can gauge from a perspective the customer's not giving me good feedback.
It all comes back to data.
And
Yes.
the fact that 2 months down the line, this policy is coming up for renewal. So I have to make that effort to go and, this is what it is. Then it's a targeted and a focused approach to retain that customer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think there's a very distinct line between likable and lovable. When you want to get into lovable as a product or as a solution, I mean, that's where you have to have that secret sauce of personalizing something as, important as insurance for that particular person. So,
We talk a lot about internally as we're developing technology, the power of personalization.
Yeah.
And if you think about the power of personalization, historically, a lot of the legacy teams that we'll talk with in some of the big brands that you've heard of, they get confused on what personalization is. And they think personalization is, well, I can put their name on an email and maybe a couple of dynamic fields. But really, personalization, as you're describing it, and just verify if I'm correct, is having an incredible deep understanding of what is going on. First of all, a golden record, comprehensive profile.
Yeah.
And then insights on what's really important to each individual customer.
yes.
And then being able to take those insights and actually put that into the marketing, communication, engagement. So it truly is really a deep personalization versus just this very surface level.
Yeah, and I think we're reaching a stage where I think it's still evolving from that perspective. But how do you predict customer behavior? At the end of the day, you're still dealing with human beings. You cannot predict.
Yeah.
That's what it is. You can talk about, getting in terms of the latest technologies, latest AI, ML, and anything. But how do you predict customer behavior? That's a question if nobody's been able to answer. As I said, we are evolving towards that state, but still not there.
Humans are complicated.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
It's
What works for me won't work for you, but
Yeah.
so it can't be this thing. Plus, from a perspective that as I said, product portfolio is evolving. I mean, you have something like a pay-as-you-go insurance is the fact that you're only charged for the number of days you run the car. And those kind of things, the product portfolios are getting made.
Is that where
so
they actually track how you drive?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
The telematics
I don't sign
and
up
stuff.
for any of that personally.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
it would not be a good outcome for me if I knew how I drove. So, yeah. So there's no doubt, gentlemen, that over the last, call it 12 months, that we have seen a quantum leap in what's possible with AI. Can you maybe talk to us about some of the work you're doing on leveraging AI and machine learning to get better data analysis, better insights? Love to hear some of that.
Yeah, I think our focus at the moment is obviously, in terms of transforming and organizing that data. I mean, what we've typically seen with legacy companies or even with the new companies, they keep on acquiring other companies or other agencies, is the fact that then they're on multiple systems. So how do you get that one view of data together? That's the transformation bit. That's what we're working on. Then our focus has also been to make sure that how do we leverage AI and ML to optimize the business process? And, looking at the end customer experience, if tomorrow something was taking 2 days, 3 days, how do you reduce that period at that point of time to give that wow factor to the customer? That's what it is. I think the technical bits is something that Soumojit can talk about, but that's the overall approach that we are taking.
The outcome is you're looking for the wow factor, and you're going to tell us how you do it.
Yeah, so we are pretty open-minded in that, way. We have been trying our hands with all kind of closed source and open source models that are there, like the ones using OpenAI and even the ones which are like using Mistral 3B and Llama 3 and all that stuff. So what we technically do is we take a approach where we try to get some data which is very contextual and kind of owned by the business, and we try to custom train it to kind of solve downstream tasks. So we have had fair bit of success with running those experiments, and we always believe that it can't be totally done by the AI, and it needs some kind of human intervention to kind of
So you believe in the human in the loop?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I believe that especially for like financial transactions, it's always good to have someone kind of verify what the model has generated. So
in our customer base across all of our verticals, we focus on lending, banking, insurance. And it's really the concern that I hear from our customers as we're launching multiple AI initiatives is, hey, I'm really not comfortable with my data going out to the world with these big models and having it. How can you educate us on how you guys set things up to protect the customer's data, or how you advise them so that they don't have this scenario where their own proprietary data is actually being used to train a new LLM?
So I think from that perspective, it's more on the legalities and the contractual issues in that sense. Yes, at an individual level, maybe we'll not be able to take that, but maybe at an aggregate level, we can. That's the typical way it's worked.
And I think there's a lot of talk around governance and what should be the ideal way of using AI these days.
Yeah.
I think every government is coming with their own rules.
We're
and
early
processes.
stages.
Yes, EU is the biggest factor. They're trying to regulate AI to the certain extent possible. So I think it's evolving at this point of time.
And it's good. And it's good because now we are talking of the ethical use of AI, which makes it more usable and more consumable for businesses.
We talked about this before we went on air, that there's every tech provider, every product company has splashed AI everywhere, right? And they've got all kinds of neat magic tricks that they can show you. Wow, look at this. But really, most of the value that is going to be delivered from AI is going to be AI that is leveraged inside of an organization you're starting with foundational models, you're training it on your data
Yes, sir.
specifically.
Yeah.
Because then it's going to have the most relevance and it's going to have the most utility and the most value. Am I stating that correctly?
Yeah, I mean, generalized models are good for some tasks, but when you have to run a business, obviously you need to train it yourself to get your historical data in place, so that the model actually learns from how you operated your business and not how some other random Joe probably does it. So, I think that's where the custom training your models in your own infrastructure and doing that on-premise deployment comes into the picture. So obviously, I mean, there's a lot of concern with your data going to OpenAI or Microsoft or all the biggies, But obviously, there's also another approach that you can take, where you take an open source model and basically train it on the data set that you have, so your data doesn't leave anywhere.
It's in your environment.
It's in your own environment. You own it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the approach we believe in.
Yeah.
Yes, and to be honest, there's a lot of companies like Databricks and even Facebook for that matter. If you see Llama 3 and like the open source model which Databricks kind of launched, they are competitive to all the closed source models of AI like OpenAI and GPT-4.
So if you look into the future a couple of years across insurance and broadly financial services, how do you see AI really transforming? Where do you think the biggest impacts are going to be over the next couple of years?
I think if I specifically talk about the insurance sector per se and everything, I think on the personal lines, you're going to see a huge impact. I think we've already started seeing that. Contact centers and everything, they've become more AI enabled. I have my personal take in terms of, I would ideally like to speak to somebody rather than, just get onto the IVR or that.
That's one of my questions.
Yeah.
Do you think we get rid of the humans?
No, not at all. I mean, we have to look at how AI or ML or the latest technologies augment the customer experience. And for that, you need humans to deliver that. You can't have machines doing that.
You guys are technologists. Your background obviously is focused in tech. And what you're telling me is ultimately you still feel the customers out there that are buying insurance still value a human element.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Especially on the personal lines, as I said. I mean, insurance is a very varied industry in that sense, that anything on the commercial lines will still require that human element. You still require those brokers or those agents to be speaking to the end customer on the commercial
Is it to provide advice and explanation?
Absolutely.
Educational?
Absolutely. Again, on the commercial side, what we're seeing from our customer behavior or from our client expectation at this point of time is how efficient and fast I can make that process today. Mm-hmm. It's not about taking out a human, but how do I leverage this AI to augment that entire journey for the customer?
It's really about impact, right?
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
It's about how do I have a higher degree of impact with those customer conversations, and AI can help that.
Absolutely.
And I feel there's a lot of scope in insurance because, like from a pure technologist view, I hope that someday we could see like a virtual underwriter, and all you do is someone sitting and saying, "Is this something that I'm okay with or not?" Mm-hmm. And you can probably do faster claim settlement as well. What is the attributes that matter to you, and you can take a decision faster. That kind of impacts the user experience.
It's happened to a certain extent, again, on the personal lines, in that sense that most of the auto insurance, if I go online, it's all automated. If I go on an aggregator website, I can buy it together in terms of, writing these answers, yes, no, whatever it is. And the fact that on the claim side also, a claim up to a certain amount straight through, correct? Yep. I'm not going to fight that battle with any customer. Obviously, if somebody's let's just take an example of a claim today, that how do I leverage AI or ML to say whether this is a fraudulent claim or not? Now, that could be a profitability for the insurance customer from that perspective. How do you leverage that?
So the aperture opens up.
Absolutely.
Particularly, so the organization, over the next couple of years, the winners and losers, the winners are going to be the ones that are approaching it from these different dimensions to optimize the business more holistically.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, again, as I said, predictive analytics to say that when I'm underwriting, whether this customer is going to stick with me next year or not. Let's say if I get an indicator which says that it's not going to stick, but I know for a fact, then I have to make that effort for that customer to stick with me. Now, what are those different tools or different methods that I can use? That's one. on the claim side, whether this is a fraudulent claim where this person has a huge claim history, and to the fact that, even on the underwriting side, to say that whether you actually want to underwrite that business or not, just on a profitability basis. Yeah, it takes out the customer experience out. But the fact that I want to be profitable, that's the end of the day.
So
that's
that
the
I
objective.
can serve my customers,
Exactly.
right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because if you're not profitable,
Exactly. It's never
none
gonna
of that
work.
matters. It's not
Yep.
just about the money. It's about being able to be in a financial position to take better care of your customers.
Absolutely.
And we see that broadly.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, gentlemen, this has been a great conversation. And maybe want to spend the last few minutes. We have recently decided to partner together with you guys. And just maybe walk us through how our partnership is, what you guys are working with Total Expert on, and then have a couple of thoughts about that.
No, Soumojit, you want to take this?
Yeah, we started off, kind of integrating Applied Epic as a consumer. So what we do is basically pull data from Applied Epic and try to transform it so that it makes sense to push that data back into Total Expert. The whole idea behind this would be to kind of, make the high touch engagement even better with what Total Expert offers. For this, we have written a lot of custom software which kind of emulates the needs that we have, which is about taking some context out of Applied Epic and applying that to our, integration with Total Expert.
I think that's when I heard the team explaining what your magic superpowers are. I got really excited because a lot of our back-end integration work, we get the raw back-end data integrated into our systems, and then it wasn't always set up in a way that we could immediately action on it or have context. And what I understand from the work you guys are doing with Applied Epic specifically is you're going to be transforming that data before it actually comes into our system so that it's in a very usable, digestible way so we can immediately drive value from it for our customers.
And we are also trying to do it near real time so that, it's a reflection.
Can I hold you to the near real time?
We have that on record.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
So,
Good. We got that on record then.
Yeah, that's what we are trying to do. And we've tried to make it as customizable and flexible as possible so that it can cater to different customers who have specific needs of this transformation that, okay, I want more data. Let this be pulled into that. We can do that. Yeah.
Guys, it's really exciting time to be in this space. What's possible today, it's just endless. And really looking forward to the journey ahead and helping some of our mutual customers get really amazing outcomes. That's very exciting and motivating to us. Thank you.
Absolutely.
For going on that journey with us.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yes, and the experience with Total Expert has been really collaborative. We have got the support that we need, and we too are totally pumped up and excited to do this.
Well, thanks for coming by the offices in Minneapolis. I know you guys have been on the road, and we look forward to catching up again soon, guys.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks so much for joining us today. Be sure to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.